All right, welcome back to FISM News. I'm Ian Patrick. We're joined right now with Nick Jeeves, the managing editor of the newsroom at Project Veritas, to discuss some of the recent lawsuits that they just launched against Twitter and CNN. Nick, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, first and foremost, I wanted to ask you your position, managing editor at the newsroom for Project Veritas. Could you go into a little detail as to what that entails, if you're at liberty to discuss so?
To the point that I can, sure. I work with production in choosing what we're going to release, what we're not going to release. I work with the communications department on how we're going to convey that to the press, to the people. We work on hires, traveling to certain events, going over headlines, going over data, going over some other things that I can't get into, obviously, because of the nature of our work.
Sure.
But it's basically a utility infielder. I'm doing it all.
Great. Okay. Speaking of doing it all, let's turn right to Project Veritas, the company you work for. Now, obviously, you guys have been handling a lot recently. There's a lot of different. There's a lot of videos that have been coming out, obviously, from Project Veritas's end, and there's a lot of lawsuits that have been coming out as well. Could you recap the situation that led up to the lawsuits against both Twitter and CNN from the Project Veritas perspective? Just go through, what led to these things, and maybe if there was something that the public didn't really get to know or see, again, from your guys' perspective.
Sure, I can certainly do my best to unravel this vortex of lawsuits.
It sounds like a vortex. Yeah.
It is in so many ways. But I will start with that James O'Keefe's personal account, as some may have heard, was permanently banned from Twitter. The reasoning Twitter gave was that James had operated false accounts and fake accounts to amplify his reach or just to have more accounts. And he's never done that in his life. Now, this suspension, this permanent ban, in essence, came after we had released a series of tapes about CNN. So we don't know why we were given this odd explanation instead of having Twitter just say, well, we banned you for putting this CNN content out there. No, we had undercover video of someone at CNN saying the network knows that they're propaganda. And on the fourth or fifth tweet that we'd sent out on those videos, boom, his account gets shut down. And they claim it's for having false accounts. So that's why we sued Twitter. With CNN, we don't know if they're in collusion at all. That's something I leave to the American public to decide, or to the public at large to decide. But for CNN, they knew that this is a different account, the Project Veritas account, not James's personal account, had been banned for privacy violations. However, the network aired host Ana Cabrera saying that we were banned as part of a misinformation crackdown. Which one is it? So we also have proof here. I have it right here in front of me that Ana Cabrera, days before going on air, went on Twitter and she put that we had been suspended for privacy violations. And that dates back to a doorstop we did where we didn't blur out a house number. So for her to be able to use that minor privacy violation to kind of vault off of that into misinformation, we didn't think that was right. We thought that was false, and that's why we're going to court.
Now, can you explain to me, since you're going to court against both Twitter and CNN, is there sort of an underlying purpose to these lawsuits? Is there something that Project Veritas is trying to do with these lawsuits?
I'd say that they're twofold. Number one is getting past motion to dismiss, which we did in a historic case against the New York Times. We've also sued. And that allows for depositions, discovery. That allows for us to put people under oath, at least people involved in the story under oath, and ask them questions. And the goal after that is to actually get the truth out to the public, have these outlets be forced, by legal order, by the court, to sit and explain why they felt it necessary to print falsities as fact. And I think that's important because the American people need to know when a network calls itself the most trusted name in news, when a newspaper calls itself the paper of record. Let's find out if they're really holding true to their taglines, because it doesn't seem to be what they're selling.
Yeah. And in fact, actually going right off of that, do you think that, or rather, what do you think it would mean for big tech and mainstream media, especially CNN, like you said, printing these falsities and pretending that they're true? What would it mean for them if Project Veritas were to walk away with a win? Obviously, I believe I'm correct in saying this, you guys have never lost a legal battle yet.
Yes, we're undefeated in court.
Great.
8-0. Yep, we're undefeated, and we don't go to court unless we think we're in the right. We battle based on truth, not on monetary gain, not on notoriety, not on business success. This is about helping people understand what's true and what's not. So yeah, at their peril, they go to court with us at their peril. And, God help them, because they're going to want to settle, and James is not settling. We're going to take this to a jury. We're going to let a jury of our peers decide what's fact and what's fiction, because they've lost that trust. The media used to do that without having to get the courts involved. This is our last refuge. This is the only place that will still hear us out on things that we feel are common sense, black and white.
Okay.
So hopefully courts feel the same.
Hopefully. You know what, actually going off of that as well, I was wondering, is there anything also beyond just vindication for Project Veritas? You mentioned that you wanted people really just to see the truth. And, I say vindication loosely. Obviously, they did you sort of dirty and you want to get back at them, sure. But is there anything more?
It's all about truth. No, we don't even, people think that, and I'm not, putting on a line here when I say that. No, we try to remove emotion from it. There are times where we feel, oh, that's horrible. How could they say that? But it's not about revenge. It's not about vengeance. It's not about flexing at them. No, this is about the people that are going to be affected in the future. It's about the reporter who isn't a reporter yet, who in the future is going to look at this case and say, maybe I should follow up. Maybe instead of reporting off my fellow reporters and other outlets reporting, I should pick up the phone and actually revive journalism. Because now it's just, according to the New York Times. Well, what if the New York Times didn't do their homework? Why is Politico citing them, and then they're citing Politico's citation of the New York Times? We want to change the standard of journalism.
Great.
We want to raise the bar.
Going off of that as well, just speaking about Twitter specifically, Twitter has been, I won't say the main source, at least for social media for Project Veritas or for James OKeefe himself, but certainly he's been able to get a lot of information out through both his personal account and the Project Veritas account on Twitter. Will you guys try to continue to use the Twitter platform, or are you trying to seek maybe other certain kinds of platforms, or is there any debate as to what would happen in the future on Twitter for Project Veritas?
It's a good question. He's available on Telegram. That's a new app that we're recommending a lot of people that did follow him on Twitter that want to continue to follow him switch to. There's also the direct to projectveritas.com website. There's the Expose NYT, stand for New York Times, website that we have. There's many ways you can still find out what's going on, track the stories. And as far as Twitter, we're hoping that by proxy, people will post this. Twitter can't ban everyone for posting something as simple as undercover video. Like, it was done legally. It was a CNN host, or CNN technical director, saying that the network is propaganda. So if everyone posted that, Twitter can't shut everybody down. So there is this hope that people will, if they feel it's true and they feel it's not going to be, challenged as not being true, put it out on your Twitter account, see what happens. Because it's not, trust me, the day that you're the one that gets banned, it's a different feeling than watching, say, James OKeefe get banned. So we hope people will test the waters and see if, in fact, Twitter will follow through, or if this is just an axe to grind against certain people.
Okay. And last question for you as well. We had the chance to briefly speak with James OKeefe at CPAC this year, and we asked him a question, and he said that more people just need to sue for defamation. Could you explain what he means by that? Is this sort of a attempt against maybe a lawfare campaign, just, lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit?
It should be. It should be, because we tried decorum. We tried explaining it to the public. We tried putting out truth. That didn't work. So they put up brick walls at every turn. So yes, sue. If you have standing, sue. You've been defamed, sue. Hold these people to account, because like I said, a day is going to come where your name is printed in that newspaper, and you're called a name that has nothing to do with your life, or you're accused of something you never did, or they dig up something from your past and it's not correctly printed. There, but for the grace of God, go you, because they're going down the line. And eventually, normal citizens are going to start getting banned. So yes, if you have cause to sue a publication, a media publication that has defamed you, wronged you, and not held themselves to the journalistic standards that they claim to, go meet with a lawyer. All
right. Well, I think that's all the time that we have then. Nick Jivas, managing editor of the newsroom at Project Veritas. Thank you so much again for coming on. And where are some places that you mentioned some social media accounts that we could follow earlier, but where else can we go to see some Project Veritas news?
We're still active thus far as of this minute on Instagram. Facebook, I believe, is still running for Project Veritas. And like I said, Telegram, that's the big app. Download Telegram, follow James OKeefe, follow Project Veritas. We'll keep you informed and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on in this fight.
All right. Nick Jeeves, thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.